Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. This week I'm going to review the newest movie in the Planet of the Apes trilogy that's come out, War for the Planet of the Apes. So I'd like to start off by saying I've always been a little more critical of the first two Planet of the Apes movies that have come out. I actually really like the old Planet of the Apes movies. If you've seen my old previous review on Battle for the Planet of the Apes, I'm a big fan of those old movies. And these new ones, while I like them, I didn't think they were as great as a lot of people thought they were. Some people thought they were really fantastic. I mean, they're good, and they're visually really astounding, but I was never really big on those. As for this one, it's phenomenal. This movie is amazing. It blew me away. It's probably top 3 movies for the year for me, and that's saying something because there's been some pretty good movies this year. So let me get into some things about this movie. So the story of this movie basically takes place 2 years after Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So Caesar and all his apes are still in the woods, and there's still some humans left. And something happens in the beginning of the movie that shows that these humans and apes cannot live together, and it's coming to a head, and one of them has to go. So basically this movie is about the conflict between Caesar and the apes, and then the humans that are left on Earth, and there's a few other minor conflicts that go on within the movie. For example, Caesar has an inner conflict with himself because he doesn't want to be like Cuba from the previous movies. He wants to be the strong, proud leader that he is and not give in to his vengeful hate for the humans. And that whole story arc with Caesar was just so well done. I mean, you have this character completely CGI, he's an ape, and you feel so much for him. You feel what he's going through, you feel his emotions change throughout the story, through the different events, and it's just so well done. Caesar himself, played by Andy Serkis, is so good. If anyone deserves an Oscar category specifically for them, it's Andy Serkis. I mean, this is just, it's the best thing I've seen in that style. And I don't know if we're ever going to get another, it's just nothing of that quality. It's fantastic. Just the facial features, his expressions, the way he emotes is just so perfect for this character. We also have other characters that are in the movie. They're not nearly as good as Caesar, but they are some really good characters. I think they're the best characters that we've seen in this franchise so far. A small group of apes, they do a good job in the movie of kind of taking away a few major characters and instead of having it all mixed in with all these other apes, which can be a little confusing. One of the characters that really stood out for me, I don't even know if he has a name throughout the movie, but IMDb, they just call him Bad Ape, and he's just so good. He adds this like levity to the movie. The movie's very heavy, very dark, and it just adds like this little bit of humor and, you know, it just adds something that's a little special to it that I don't think the previous movies had. It's good to break up these really heavy moments and really like heavily themed things in the movie with these, you know, these little funny, quirky moments with that character. And I really thought it worked great. It didn't take away from the seriousness or the tone or the themes of the movie at all for me. Harrelson's character, like you saw in the trailers, that would be my one knock on the movie. I didn't think he was really well developed. There are a few scenes that are meant to give him more of a character story and more of a background, but I wasn't really completely sold on it. I mean, he kind of was a one-sided character. He's just evil. He's just really bad. And I mean, they do give him his motives, but he goes about things in a way that is just completely one-sided for me. That would be like probably my only knock on the movie. There's one small other thing, but I'm going to hold that to the end because it's very spoilerish if I were to say what it is, but it's just a little nitpick thing about the movie I didn't like. And the character you see from the trailer, the girl, she's in it. I mean, she was an interesting character. She kind of showed like a lighthearted humanity, a return to primitive humanity, and it worked well. She didn't do a whole lot, and it just, you know, I didn't feel like she was completely necessary to the story, but she was good when she was in it, and it was an interesting character. It definitely wasn't worthless and didn't need to be in the movie. As for the themes of this movie, there are so many good themes and heavy themes. Like, I feel like the previous movies just harped on, you know, humanity destroying the earth and things like that, but this one had a lot to do with just forgiveness and redemption and what you would do to survive, and it's just so good. It's just, everything about it is so well done. The cinematography is stunning. It is so good. I don't want to just harp on how great this movie is, but the cinematography of these shots are fantastic, and the overhead shots, the battle scenes are great. The characters, the apes looking at each other, there's multiple scenes where they're not even speaking. It's just their facial expressions. And the way that the lighting works, it's just so good. You get so much from just seeing it. Without anybody talking, you get so much feeling from this movie, from just the wide shots and the landscapes. It's so well done. You see a lot of environments. You see the rain, you see the snow, you see just a lot of different locations within this movie, and they all look so good mixed with the apes being in those environments. The score is also really good. There's multiple times in the movie, especially towards the very beginning and the end, where I felt like I was in one of those old Planet of the Apes movies. You have these wide shots, the timpani type drums going. It sounded and felt like I was in an old Planet of the Apes movie, and I didn't feel that with the first two movies, and I thought that was a great addition. And the visuals, I know everyone harps on it, and everyone says how great they are, and it's true. It is the hype is true. This is the best looking movie I've ever seen when it comes to CGI. These apes look so good. There's multiple times where I'm watching it where they were so well done that A, I would believe they're real apes, and B, you almost forget that they're apes. They have such an expression and movement about them that they feel almost human-like, and it's just perfect. And just the environmental effects on the apes are so well done, between the rain and the snow and the wind. They did a great job with that. Also, there's a lot of action scenes with a lot of special effects, which looked really good. I don't know how much of that was practical and how much was added in after, but it looked really good. It looked very convincing. The action scenes were really well done. The sound mixing into those scenes with the explosions, the hitting, the bullets, everything worked so well for me. So I have to say, I did enjoy the ending. It wasn't what I expected, but I did enjoy it. I think a lot of people will like it. It's definitely not kind of what I expected, but I think I should have expected. I think I was expecting it to be more like the older movies, but it was good. So if I were to rate this movie, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It is that good. There are a few minor things I have wrong with it, why I can't give it a 10 out of 10, but it is just so good. If you like the other movies, go see it. If you like great special effects, go see it. If you like good action, go see it. It's just, I think it has something for everyone. I mean, there's going to be people that probably don't like this movie, but I just don't know what isn't to like about it. Alright, so I'm going to get in some quick spoilers real quick, because there's a few things I want to talk about. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, click off now. I just want to talk about a few scenes. There's one scene that kind of bothered me a lot. So, there's a point when all the apes are captured by the humans and they're in this enclosure and they can't get out, and the character that's the small girl, she just goes into the compound and no one sees her. It's very strange. There's this whole sequence, which is a good sequence. It has to do with, Caesar leading his apes and them being, very compassionate towards him and saying, you're our leader and we're supporting you 100%. But it was weird. Like, there's this whole 5 or 6 minute scene where no one is seeing her walk around. So that's kind of a gripe for me. I feel like the bad guys, the soldiers, they're very incompetent, and they're not even that menacing because they just never seem to notice anything that's going on. When the apes escape, how did they not see any of that happen? I just don't understand that part. So that was a little gripe for me. I didn't like that. As for the kind of side story that you don't know about before you see the movie, with the characters of the small girl and Woody Harrelson's character, you find out towards the end of the movie that people are getting this disease where they kind of turn primitive and they turn back to, they can't speak and they're almost animalistic like. And the girl can't speak, so she's kind of like that. She's like this innocent young child that is basically an ape, like how apes would be when the apes became smart, So I thought that was an interesting twist to it, and the fact that Woody Harrelson ends up coming around and having that at the end of the movie was a good ending. I kind of would have liked more of a, oomph to that ending. It was kind of anticlimactic, but Caesar, letting him go and finally redeeming himself and deciding he's not Cuba and he is the compassionate, peaceful leader, that was a good scene. I enjoyed that scene a lot. I did think it was interesting that in the movie, in the beginning, they decided to kill Caesar's son, because if you watched my review for Battle of Planet of the Apes, I didn't mention it, but in that movie, Aldo kills Caesar's son, and that leads him to become this vengeful person. And, I thought that was an interesting parallel. Obviously, this movie doesn't parallel that movie pretty much at all, but that was one thing that I thought was kind of cool, kind of harkened back to it, and it showed him, what would take to break him. I did like that the movie changed in tone halfway through the movie. So, in the beginning, it feels very warlike, kind of, it's more of an action movie. And then it turns into this escape movie. It's so well done. The escaping, the way that they're, they plan it all out and they get out, even though I did have a problem with no one noticed anything they were doing. But I liked all that inner working and teamwork and all that. I thought that was a cool thing to do with this movie. And also for the apes being captured, that was interesting because you felt more of what you felt in the old Conquest Apes, where they're literally being used for slave labor and you're really rooting for them more than anything. It's not this conflict of man versus ape. It is these bad humans that are treating them terribly, and you're really rooting for them for the escape. And seeing them in that slave state really hits you emotionally. There are a lot of emotional scenes in this movie. As for the ending, I guess it was pretty good. Caesar dying I didn't feel like it added anything to the movie. He could have lived. I felt like that would have been fine. it kind of left you on more of a cliffhanger than I needed. Like, it didn't show them doing anything. So if this was going to lead to that universe of Planet of the Apes, like this is going to what would be Planet of the Apes, I didn't get that feeling from it. But if they do another movie, I don't think they're probably going to, but if they do that, that would be fantastic. I would love to see that. I'd love to see this world built up, the apes, maybe conflicting with themselves or something like that. And it was interesting that they did make the humans become ape-like, which you did see in the original Planet of the Apes movies. They were kind of, they were almost like what apes are being kept in cages. So guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought of the movie. If you saw it, I think it's fantastic. If you didn't like anything about it, let me know. Maybe that little part bothered you as well. So remember to like and subscribe. And yeah, thanks for watching again. And see ya.